Hey everyone, it's Shotzi for the Rough Cuts on Sunday. Hope you have had a great week and are enjoying the warmer weather. If it's warmer where you are, here it's been like mid 80s every day. Today I'm going to talk about another film that I saw during South by Southwest, and that is the documentary entitled Marley. This is coming out this year, 2012. It's been in the works for a long time. Originally, I think Martin Scorsese wanted to do it in like 2008 or something like that, and then it's been passed through several hands until finally Kevin MacDonald picked it up. He is a gentleman who has brought other titles such as The Last King of Scotland, great director, and he was extremely thorough with this film. This documentary is a little bit long for a documentary, but considering how influential Bob Marley was, it really isn't. Originally, I think it was supposed to be like 3 hours long, and then they cut away half an hour, so it's 2.5 hours long. So, pretty long documentary, but it's very, very good. And it covers pretty much everything, all of the bases. They said there was a lot that they had to leave out that they wanted to put in, but it just would have been too long. But they have a lot of interviews with Bob Marley himself from past interviews, of course. Also, his son Ziggy Marley, his daughter Cedella, and his widow, as well as some of his girlfriends that he had, musicians that played with him. It just really, really runs the whole gamut of people that were in his life. In this documentary, it starts out with his childhood, talking to some family members, showed his childhood home, which to say was very modest is a gross understatement. It was a shanty town in St. Anne, Jamaica, 9 Mile, and it was pretty much just a small shack. So it's still strange for me to see that. I mean, my family's from the Bahamas, and there is, some not as well off places in the Bahamas, but I don't think they had the shanty towns there, at least none that I've ever seen, like they have in Jamaica. So it's just like a huge difference to see that, and just still kind of, I get taken aback by seeing it. But he had kind of a troubled childhood because his father was white and his mother was black. He didn't see his father that much growing up. And because he didn't really identify with white specifically or black specifically, he often felt as though he didn't quite fit into any category. And so that became very influential in his music. And even with his own family, the other Marleys that were very, very big on the island, they cast him aside when he went in to go talk to them and ask them for a favor. And that actually influenced his song Cornerstone. And so it's really, really astonishing the different things, even that seemed very small in the grand scale of things, that influenced his life and his music. So pretty much everything had some sort of impact on him musically. So it talks about the beginnings from when he was working with Cox and Dodds, and before their debut, he would make them, like Bob Marley and the other soon-to-be Wailers, go out into the cemeteries at night to practice singing, because they're, those of you who are familiar with like the Duppy Man, those would be like the spirits who come up from the graves at night. So he said they'll get courage that way by singing in the cemeteries at night, and he made them do that for 2 years prior to finally letting them debut and release an album. But it talks about how influential he was in Jamaica, also his different tours, like when he was in England, when he was in Zimbabwe, and just how really important of a figure he was to thousands and thousands of people, especially in Jamaica. And then how finally in the US he became popular. And it seemed like he was popular in the US after he became popular everywhere else in the world. And so that kind of hurt him, apparently, because he moved to the US in the 60s because his mother had moved to Delaware. So he moved to the US then, but he wasn't really popular until much, much, much later. He was already very, very famous in the rest of the world. But it talks about like his music, of course. There are a lot of recordings that weren't previously heard prior to this documentary, simply because many people didn't even know that they existed. A lot of people didn't realize they had it until Kevin MacDonald went around asking if they had anything to contribute to this documentary that he was working on, and they would look and they would find things. They would find recordings, interviews, photographs, just a lot of different things, and then of course stories, because like there were stories in there that like Ziggy Marley had no idea they would do, like the whole thing in the cemetery. During the Q&A after the screening of this, Ziggy Marley said that he didn't know about the cemetery singing until he saw the documentary. So it's just a lot of very interesting stories that people have to tell. Also, it talks about when he started getting sick, when he discovered Rastafarianism for himself, talks about his beliefs with everything. Just he was very, very devout with that religion. Talking about the significance of the dreadlocks, also how important it was to keep a healthy mind and a healthy body. So a lot of people, at least in college, you would see all these people with like Bob Marley posters with him like just smoking away, smoking marijuana. And it was like they saw him as some like big, like just reggae star who smoked a lot of pot. And that was such a minuscule part of him, because he only smoked marijuana because of the religion, to get into that state of mind, because otherwise he was extremely healthy. He was very, very strict with his exercise routine, foods that he would eat, and just everything. Just very, very strict. He made everybody exercise and play soccer prior to recording anything, and they said that he was just very, very into that. It was very important. The exercise and healthy body was just as important as the music itself. It's a very good documentary, and it makes you see so many different aspects of this man that most people had absolutely no idea ever existed. And actually, there was an older man who was sitting next to me, and during like the film, he started crying because like he was so moved by everything, because he had experienced a lot of that, especially when he lived in Zimbabwe. That was the part of the documentary when he just broke down crying, and he started applauding like in the middle of the documentary. And so it was really, really well done, very well thought out, very well executed. And I highly recommend it for everyone, whether you like reggae or not. Definitely give this a go. It's great filmmaking and great storytelling. So go see this. It's coming out this year, I believe. Not wide release, but it's been picked up by a lot of different distributors, from my understanding. So check this out if it's playing near you, or if it's going to be available somewhere for like downloading soon, where you can like purchase it off of like iTunes or something. Watch it. It's definitely worth the 2.5 hours. Very good. I will see you all next week, where I will be talking about, I believe it's The Hunter is what other people were requesting to talk about, because I have a few things to say about The Hunter. But until then, I hope you have a great week, and I will see you next time. So, goodbye.